Hi, welcome again. I had two handouts that I wanted to review with you that I found useful, and again, they can be totally editable, used toward your strengths, your client needs, what you find most useful. But with the solution focused, well, with most brief therapy, the focus is on, what's the clear focus of what we're trying to accomplish, and then how can I get there. So it's definitely a different type of therapeutic relationship. The first that I handed out, and I've got this here. You've got handouts in our kitchen area as well that show this. And it says planning and goal sheet. This is something I used with middle school and high school students, and I continue to try to go back. And so the first thing it says is, what's your PEP? What's your general overview? And this is based on, we know that we focus on negatives more than positives, and at a very minimal ratio. Kind of what feeds our souls is at least two positives for every perceived negative or area that we need to work on. Frankly, it's probably much more. It's probably, four positives for every area to continue developing. Now, those areas to continue to develop are, of course, pretty critical. And so we don't want to move to, everything's perfect, I'm perfect, nothing to work on. We still need to encourage, but we also remember that we're most likely to anchor into what we're doing well, and that will motivate us typically. And so knowing that we remember things at the beginning and the end the best. Another reason why I use this PEP sandwich model, and I'm just going to write that here. PEP standing for positive, encouragement, positive, and I got that from yoga practice years ago, actually. That's important verbiage, right? So encouragement, it's not bad, it's not negative, it's not, you blew it there. It's what's an area to continue to develop, to encourage. So if we can do this at the end of any counseling day, any teaching day, certainly it's a piece that I'm doing today. What do I feel went really positively? And we're not saying, I'm a nice person. We want to be very specific. What's something specific that I did well today in my practice or in my work? What's an area that I really want to continue to develop that maybe just didn't feel quite right or didn't hit what I was going for? And then, but again, how can I rebuild on my strengths? And so I'm going to end with a positive as well. So for students, when I was thinking about their plans and their goals, what is something in the first piece says, what's a specific thing that's going well at home or school? The encouragement, what's a specific thing that you want to keep developing or gain skill or ability in at school and home? And then another positive, and again, specific I think is key. I also asked students, so this was right before they left for the summer, I asked them what their specific goals or plans were for the summer, and then what their specific goals or plans were for next school year. So thinking more short term and then more long term. And then a really key question is, what are 2 or 3 strategies you'll use when problems or issues arise? That ties as well to, we know that things are going to come up, right? No matter how great we are at our work, they're going to be tough. Unforeseen problems are going to arise. What's our go-to? Where do we go? Is it back to meditation? Is it talking to a mentor? Is it taking a break so that I can cognitively process? What is that? And then last, I asked them, what are those sources of strength that they have available to support them in their efforts? So I'm asking them to be very specific again and list family support. That's chosen family, right? It could be mom or dad, but it could also be the neighbor, the aunt, the uncle, the grandma, the godparent, the friend's parent who is like family. Mental health. So that includes, for some kids as well, I might have shared some 800 numbers or some free and anonymous support groups such as Alateen, where they have some mental health support beyond, hopefully, what they can get with us as counselors as well. Medical access, so even if they don't have insurance, recognizing where they go, where some supports are, maybe with sliding fees in the area. Spirituality is let's see, the fourth of 8. Remember that it's the sources of strength, the kind of the rainbow color, where we're trying to build a strong base. So letting them know we're not necessarily talking about God or religion, although that might be very important for some people, but that might be nature. That might be the spirit or their energy of positive people in their lives. That might be art. So what is spirituality to them that feeds their soul? Generosity, meaning giving to others. So one of the best and easiest ways to get out of myself is to focus on how I can be a help and support to others. And at different times in our lives, we might have that realization, oh, right? How am I being generous to others? And what can I do to change that? Healthy activities. So that could be any number of things, right? That could be literal jogging, dancing, basketball. That could also be reading, sleeping appropriate, all of that. Mentors, so someone that they look up to, not necessarily someone older, but someone that they would like to emulate. And then positive friends. So having them go through those 8 areas, again, it's family support, mental health, medical access, spirituality, generosity, healthy activities, mentors, and positive friends. It's something that I hold on to if I'm able to check in with them again, and I have them sign it, and then if a parent is involved, they sign it as well. It was a nice way to close out our time together. And again, you do have a paper copy of it. I'm going to see if I can do this for one moment. Maybe. It's freezing on us. Let's see. This is what the goal sheet looks like. Nothing special. But you can see I'm asking for the positives. I'm asking for specific goals and sources of strength. And then signatures. So that is that piece. The next handout I'm going to show you, I just want to give you a quick glimpse. It looks like this. You've got a hand on it, a handout that you can grab at our dinner area. And I'm going to flip back to the other screen because I think it's easier to see. It's a nice checklist, though. I found it very helpful as I was working short term with individuals. So it's the initial solution-focused brief counseling session note sheet. So it lists, and then it's very specific, but again, it can get some really powerful results. Sklar is one of the names associated with that, and he's written some great books. And the book that this came from was Brief Counseling That Works, a solution-focused therapy approach for school counselors and other mental health professionals. Remembering, again, not just within schools, but in a lot of life. It might be 1 or 2 sessions that we have. So the first, and I'm going to move this up. The first thing that is asked is, what's the client's goal? So I'm literally going to ask them this. It's not a big warm-up time. So I think thinking about there might not be as much of a relationship built. So are there other ways that can happen as well? If I know that I can only see this person one time for 30 minutes, what's that going to look like? Is there some good that I can do in that time? So the question is, what's your best hope from this meeting? And we want them to be very specific, very positive, and detailed in that goal. I can tell you that many individuals, this is going to feel better for. So a lot of people, of course, we want to be able to dig deeper, but a lot of people, they don't want that in counseling. And we can kind of talk about different cultural groups there, but there are definitely groups where they're like, really? Like, we're just going to get right to the solution? Cool, I can do that. And then hopefully we can give them extra resources and let them, dig deeper when and if they're interested in that as well. The classic miracle question, which I'm sure you have likely heard of at this point, which is, if a miracle happened and you woke up and your problem was solved, what would be the first time that the miracles occurred? What would that look like? If you had a magic wand. And they're going to sometimes want to go directly to what the other people would be doing differently, or they might say, that's ridiculous, right? This problem isn't going to disappear, but you're still trying to help them envision this. So what would you be doing differently? Now, let's not talk about how to get there yet. Let's just talk about what would you be doing differently if your problem suddenly magically disappeared. some of the questions: who would notice the change in you? How would they respond to this difference in you? How would you respond to them? What else would be different after this miracle? So that miracle question is powerful because you're trying to help them envision it. We talked about vision and mission just a little bit ago in my other brief video. So it's related, right? Next, we're looking at instances of success. So tell me about when this miracle happened, even just a little bit. Or maybe they typically can reflect back on a time in their life, or maybe even just a moment or a day or two where they felt it. We're trying to get them back to that. How were you able to make this happen? We want to help them accept that they created this and kind of cheerlead, be their support at this time. Wow, right? You did it. I'm thinking of, for years, I, for instance, struggled greatly with quitting smoking years ago. That was a goal of mine for a long time. So what would people notice that was different about me? And what were instances of success? Well, I had many, because I quit numerous times before I was able to finally move through that. And celebrating that, right? So we tend to move negative. Scaling is really trying to get a sense of where they're at and how willing they are to move ahead. So on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being this is the worst your problem's ever been, and 10 being your problem is gone, where are you at right now? So you're just trying to get a snapshot of where they're at. You're still focused on the solution, so it's very related to positive psychology as well. I want to focus on, if I say a 5, wow, tell me more about that. Tell me what makes it a 5 and not a 4 or a 3. Obviously 8 or 9 is easier, but they might not even be talking to you if they were at an 8 or a 9. Someone might say 0 or 1. That's trickier. But I think going back to what makes it a 1 and not a 0, or what would make it even lower. I hear you. I hear where you're at. What makes it as positive? And most people are going to give a number of a 2 or 3 or a 4. But if someone went all the way down to, say, 0, tell me what below 0 would look like. You're at a 0. What could make it worse? And we're not wanting to focus on that, but we're trying to pull up on what are the positive things happening that are making it better than it could be. So when you're one number higher, let's say they said I'm at a 5. Say, tell me if you were at a 6 or a 7, what's one thing you'd be doing that you're not doing now? What would make it a 6 or a 7? So we're not talking about overnight. We're talking about steps, simple steps they can do to move ahead. Okay. 5 on this form says flagging the minefield. Similar to that other form that I was talking about earlier, which is, right, what will you do if X or Y gets in the way of the goal? If I get stressed and then I want to grab that cigarette. If, I'm really making progress on my business plan and then the bank doesn't come through, right? What are the possible or potential downfalls? That other handout as well said, what will you do? And a lot of times people can identify what the likely minefields are going to be, and then we can bring them back to things like those sources of strength or what they're going to do. Okay. Moving toward the end of this, we have unfinished business. Is there anything else I need to know to help you? So we're clearly, again, it might not be a very deep relationship, but I am here to serve. And I think looking at that attitude of being in service is so powerful. So what else can I do to help? And then the last piece on this just mentions the importance when we're thinking about being positive and positive psychology as well. What are the messages? I'm going to move this up again. What are the messages that I'm giving to my client? So making sure that I'm recognizing and being very specific in my compliments. Some of us have an easier time with this than others. Bridging statements, so connecting goals to the tasks at hand, and then actions that the client, and then actions or observations, what the client is going to do. So last, I can close by having a client write or draw a picture, read a message, share something, and giving them some really positive, supportive feedback from me, and also helping them have a quick and clear vision for the future.